You guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ace of Cups podcast. I think this is the first episode that we're actually recording, so this is really cool. You guys are probably watching on YouTube. So just go ahead and dive into today's episode. I hope everybody has had an amazing week. I hope if you are listening to this that you are having an amazing day. If you are on this healing journey and if you are on this personal development and just personal growth journey, I know that it can be really difficult and I know it can be challenging some days. I know some days you can really get in your head and just, why am I doing this? How did I get into this? But I promise it's so worth it. And we are just going to go ahead and dive right into today's episode. Okay, this episode is going to be how to drastically change your life in 6 months. I promise if you do everything that I'm going to list out to you, your life in 6 months is going to look nothing like the current life that you're living. I know because I've done this and I had to do this because of the circumstances that I was in, but this is literally the recipe to changing your life in 6 months, whatever you want to achieve. You guys don't know, which if you're not super close to me, you probably don't. But a year ago now, I went through a really bad breakup and I had no choice but to really get it together and to really focus on what mattered. If you're a woman, never leave things like your housing situation, your financial situation in the hands of another person. Even if you're married, in my opinion, 1 year ago, I had no money. I was living back at my mom's house. We broke up literally 1 week before our new apartment was ready, and I had no choice but to stay with my mom and to continue living at my mom's house. I did not have a job because it was a mutual agreement with this person and I that he would sustain everything. So I up and quit my job, which, take the lesson from me, don't ever do that, especially if you are not married. Live and you learn. I really want to kick the old version of me for that, but she trusted that person and I can't blame her. I had barely any inventory for my business. So ESE Beauty, I barely had any inventory, and most of all, I was heartbroken. So it was really hard to want to even get up in the morning. I was also overweight and my self-esteem was on the ground. So all of those things combined, the overweight, no money, no job, living in my mom's house, the house that, hurt me so much. And I was back in that environment of so much pain and so much solitude and so much trauma and so much history. And I was going through probably one of the hardest things that I think I had to go through. And it's not just because of the heartbreak itself, but because that heartbreak had me facing a lot of aspects of myself, and it literally was like a mirror to my face. All the choices I had been making, all the decisions that I had been making for my life and for myself, and it was just a big old mess. I don't even know how I made it out of that point, because there were some moments that I was so dark and so deep in it that I didn't know how I was going to get out. So it was really difficult saying it to you now with strength and with confidence because I went through it. But when you're in that moment, it's hard to see anything. It's hard to see anything beyond the pain that you're feeling, the confusion that you're feeling, the doubt that you're feeling, the darkness that you literally feel washing over you. And then I basically had to start over. And it sucks having to start over while you're also heartbroken, but it fueled so much of the things that happened afterwards. First thing I did was find a job, and I just found a little whatever kind of job. It was a little desk job, and doing all the filing and stuff for that company. When I realized it was time to go was when I had somebody that was doing what I did previously. So sales, reaching out, CRM, BDC sales, but just for that company. And I had somebody else that was doing what I already knew how to do, telling me what to do. And I was just like, absolutely not. Like, I need to get out of here. So my first instinct was, okay, I need to go back to dealerships, because that's where I know how to make money. I can make commission on top of my base salary. So that, to me, I was in control of at least one portion of my income. That gave me like, I need to go back to making what I'm used to making. At this time, I was also manifesting like money, like I needed to get money because I really wanted to move out. After that, I ended up working at a dealership. I ended up meeting some really cool people, and they promoted me within like 3 months, and it was okay for the time being. It was something, but I just didn't see myself there long term because there was nobody there that I wanted to aspire to. Not because they were not successful or anything, but just the aspects of their lives. I didn't aspire to that. I didn't want a life like theirs. When that clicked, it just, like I said, everything happened at the right moment. And then New Year's came, and you will know when you're ready to let go. So don't force yourself to let go before you're ready to. And when you are ready to, you'll just be ready and you'll know, and that's it. You don't have to force yourself. When I realized that job that I was in, that dealership, that I didn't aspire and I wasn't inspired by any of the people that worked there, I knew it was time to go. But I didn't know where I was going to go, because that was the best option that I had in that moment. So I was also being smart. But like I said, I kept reaching out to my previous manager from Mercedes with this. But when I tell you I annoyed her, and I know I annoyed her, I got like a picture memory or something that popped up on my iPhone, and I sent it to her, and I was like, hey, look what just popped up for me. It was like a little picture of her that I guess I took or something. And she's like, wow, you're just in time. We just got an opening. It was the biggest blessing. That moment, like I literally cried. Like I literally went to the bathroom and started crying. And I was like, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Because I knew that's where I am supposed to be. And it's what I love to be at. Everything just worked out. And I got to work from home from West Palm Beach, even though the dealership was in Orlando. But of course, my heart was set on moving to Orlando. And I had tried to move out before. I even tried to move out to West Palm Beach, to like an apartment in West Palm Beach, but something just didn't fit. And the apartment that I was going to move into, I was like settling. Like, it's not what I wanted at all, but it was like, oh, it'll have to do for now. Like, it'll have to do. But it wasn't what I wanted at all, and it's not where I deserve to be. It's not where God wanted me to be. And I know that because I just didn't feel it. The apartment that I did move to, so many coincidences led up to me being in this apartment and to me finding this apartment. And it is exactly where I pictured myself. And I know this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, I know this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I'm forever grateful. Another really big thing. So after I moved to Orlando, literally when my breakup happened, I would constantly tell myself, you can't cry. Like, you can't cry, you can't be sad because you don't have a Mercedes. And listen, and it sounds silly because like it's just a car, it's just a Mercedes, and it's something materialistic. But when I first worked for them, I fell in love with that brand so much. And I tell you, when I sat in those cars, there was no other thought that went through my head than, this is the car that I need to drive. This is what I need to be driving. This is the car that's meant for me. I wanted it so bad. And I would constantly tell myself, when I was sad, when I was depressed, when I was in the thick of it, like when I was hopeless, I was like, no, you can't give up because you don't have a Mercedes. And it sounds so silly, but that's literally what gave me strength in that moment. I was like, no, girl, like, you've never had a Mercedes. You've never owned one. You've never had that be your car, so you're not done. Like, that would literally give me the enthusiasm that I needed. And of course, that doesn't have to be what motivates you. That doesn't have, we all have different things, but that's the one thing that I wanted, like, so bad. Like, right after I moved to Orlando, the dealership that I work for came out with this like crazy, insane, like almost insane lease special for the employees. And I was like, oh my God, not only did I get a Mercedes, but I got like a brand new electric Mercedes. Like, video that I posted when I got the car went viral. Like, I got like 1.6 million views or something, because a bird came to visit me while I was at the dealership. Like, a bird just flew into the desk that I was sitting at, and then I picked him up and he stayed on my finger for like literally like 20 minutes, and everybody was around me like, yo, why is there a bird on your finger? But that did have some very special meaning to me, but I just took it as a sign, and everything went perfectly. Like I said, when something is meant for you, nothing will be able to stop it. Like, all the steps, everything will be the right step towards that goal. Okay, so that's kind of how we got back to where we are. And I can honestly say, like, I'm making the most amount of money that I've made yet. I have the car that I really wanted. I moved out and I have my own beautiful apartment, and I'm just in such a great place. Like, not perfect. I am not where I want to be mentally or financially or any of that, but I am in such a much better place than where I was a year ago. So I can truly testify that, like, everything happens for a reason. And if you really put the intention out there, and if you really focus, and if you really put your head to it, like, you can do it. Did it literally, like, while I was losing my mind. Like, my mental health was so bad. I don't even know how I did it, but I know you can do it too. And these are the things that allowed me to be able to drastically make that change to where it is now and to where my life is now. You just have to be determined, and you have to have a vision. Oh, the first thing is really decide who you want to be. Person that I wanted to be, I always imagined somebody that was super confident, super outgoing, super social, somebody that knew, that would believe in their abilities, and somebody that was powerful and strong and financially independent, and just a strong person, like truly just the best version of myself. And I always imagined her, like, I have an image of that, like, best version of myself in my head, and I know exactly what she looks like, and I know exactly what she acts like, and she doesn't take shit from anybody. She puts herself above anything. She is a full-on hustler, like, skyrise apartment, has the cutest little dog. I know all the attributes of that person. What I encourage you to do is literally think of every single aspect of that person. What would their decisions be? What is their personality like? What is something they don't tolerate? What is something they intentionally do every single day? Like, what is something that, you know, like, just think of their habits, their routines. And I know you guys have probably heard this because personal development is super huge right now, but really, like, honestly, just really sit down and get to know that person. Like, build a whole new person, basically. Like, build a whole character, and all the attributes, all the personality traits, all the motives, everything that it embodies and fuels that character, because that's who you want to be. And we always have an idea, I think, in our heads, and you can even do a meditation. So I actually did a meditation where I closed my eyes, and I think you can find them, like, on YouTube and stuff, like higher self meditations, like meet your higher self, etc. But you can literally do a meditation and take yourself back to a moment where you felt really helpless, and you felt like nothing in the world could save you, and you just felt like helpless, literally, like you couldn't do anything, and you were in so much pain. Take yourself back to that moment and imagine your higher self. So that ideal version of yourself that you have in your mind, imagine her coming to save that helpless version of yourself. And when I did this, I actually cried because I imagined that version of myself saving, like, helpless little me that didn't know what was going on or what was happening. Such, like, a profound thing to even imagine, like, that you can be your own savior. You can save yourself. So just, you can even do that little guided meditation, but really get to know who that person is. Like, the first thing you want to do is outline the attributes, the characteristics. What do they wear? What do they eat? Where do they go? Where do they spend their time? Who are their friends, etc. Step number 2 is evaluate your surroundings. And this goes for a lot of things, but evaluate your friend group, the people that you have around you. Evaluate your workplace, just anything, literally just your surroundings. It could even be where you're living currently. Really be honest with yourself if that's the environment that you think that you can grow in. Because when I was in the thick of it and I was at my mom's house and I looked around me, and no shame to my family, I love my family and I'm thankful for every single thing they have done for me. They're not the best people to be around when I was trying to make these changes in my life, because none of them have the things that I want to achieve. So it's really hard to be in a environment that doesn't understand what you're trying to do. So you literally have to block everything out, especially if you're in that environment and you don't have an ulterior motive. You have to block everything out, and you have to believe 100% in what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve, because that kind of negativity can really weigh you down and it can convince you otherwise. But you have to be literally stubborn as heck. You have to be super stubborn in what you want and in what you want to get to, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I actually had a conversation with my grandpa, which God bless him, I love him. I had a conversation with him because I had spent $1,000 on starting a teeth whitening studio. I did start and I got all the equipment for it. I probably spent more than $1,000. Like the $1,000 was just the course, and then I had to get all the equipment for it and everything. So I spent quite a bit of money, and he sat down with me and he told me, and you don't have to take my advice. My family knows how I am, and I'm a very straight person, and they know that I love them regardless of what I tell them. So he sat me down. He was like, oh, like, I don't think you know what you're doing, because you just spent all this money and now you're not even gonna like continue the business. Because I did it for a little bit, but then I realized that's not what I should be doing. Like, I just didn't like it. Whatever. And I decided to just stop and just pivot, and just that wasn't for me. But at least I tried it. And he sat me down. He's like, I don't think you know what you're doing, because you spent all this money and you keep spending money on like to start all the businesses. And he kind of went he made it like a little list of like all the things that I had done wrong in the past. He told me like, oh, you bought a Cricut machine to make stickers and you didn't do that. Like just things like that. And he told me all that. And it sounds really harsh, but I looked at him and I was like, oh, pa, like how many... do you own a successful business? And he looked at me, he was like, no. I was like, okay, then please understand that like I'm trying to do something that you haven't done. I know that's really harsh, and that's just what I needed to say in order to convince myself that what I'm doing is like what I am meant to do, and what I like, you literally have to be stubborn if it's coming from somebody that hasn't achieved what you want to achieve. If you want to like climb Mount Everest, you're not going to ask somebody that's never climbed how to do it. You know what I mean? Really evaluate the people that you have around you and the things they tell you. And if it's anything negative, you have to really learn how to block it out. If you can't remove that person from your life, and if that person is meaningful to you, like really learn how to block their negativity and their doubts out. It's like your doubts plus other people's doubts. It's like a recipe for disaster. So really block it out. Third thing is be yourself. So I always say I used to be like a shell of who I was, because I have a lot of personality traits and a lot of things that are true to my being and to my likes and everything that I used to kind of push down because I thought they were weird, or because like people didn't understand them. And sadly that mostly came from childhood. Like people like for example, when I was a kid, I was super social. Like when I tell you, when I was a kid, like 5-6 years old, I used to talk to anybody and everybody, and I used to make friends with absolutely everybody. Like I used to be the most social kid ever. And then I got to America. That was in Cuba. I got to America, and then there was the language barrier. Like I had to learn English, when I first moved to the US, I lived in like Loxahatchee, which if you know, Loxahatchee is primarily white. The school there, I was the only Hispanic kid at that school. This was back in 2009. I would literally go home crying because I was like, I can't talk to anybody. But I will say I literally learned English and like fully fluent in like 3 months. When I did learn English and when I got to middle school, middle schoolers can be really mean. So I got to middle school and I would, try to make friends. I would go up to people, be like, hi, I'm Giuliani. Like, try to get to know people. And people would literally be like, ew, you're annoying. Like just me going up to them and introducing myself, and just like all the other stuff that happens during middle school and high school, like really gets to you. But I literally, like, I don't know, a part of me, like, that just, like stayed in me for some reason. So I became really introverted, and I became that person that, like, didn't like people. Which is not me, like, deep down. Like, I love people, and I love conversations, and I love socializing, like, but I have a limit now. Like, I'm kind of like an introverted extrovert now because I lose energy, like, really quickly. Like, I get worn out, like, socializing really quickly. But that doesn't mean that I don't love it and that I didn't want to do it. But there was one point in my life, which was when I was in my previous relationship, that I was just like, ew, no, I hate people. I don't trust people. I'm super introverted, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to make friends. I don't need friends. Like literally like that kind of attitude. And it just wasn't it. I really had to embrace every single part of myself that I was pushing down and that I was trying to hide because I didn't want to be weird, or because I didn't want to be like the odd man out, or like, they're just weird. And one thing that I learned is that your weirdness is your uniqueness. Like literally, when I tell you, like, I used to like be like, oh, don't be weird, don't say things that are weird, don't like, anything that you like that's weird, like push it down. Be yourself. Like whatever weird little things you have that you hide, or little quirks or little likes that you think are weird, that's where you are unique. And that's what you need to bring out, because your uniqueness is what's going to allow you to literally like thrive. Like when you start being yourself and people start to meet that authentic version of you, you are going to attract the authentic friends that you need, the authentic relationships. It's like your soul tribe. Once you accept who you are, and once you accept every single little part of yourself, and you allow yourself to just be yourself, not try to be anything for anyone, not try to do anything for anyone, just be yourself. I promise you, you're gonna start attracting your soul friends, your soul relationships, everything. Next thing that I can tell you is move. Don't blame the flower, blame the environment. And that's actually a quote that I heard and that stayed with me, and I remember till this day, is if a flower is not blooming, do you blame the flower or do you blame the environment, like the soil, the sun, how much water it's getting, etc. If you move to a different city by yourself, I guarantee you your life will drastically be different. And of course, not everybody has the ability to do that, so I'm not saying that's like a crucial step. But if you've ever wanted to, and if a part of you is like, you know what, I should move to a new city, like if you have that little inkling inside of you, like if you have that little like thing, like, that's just like, I need to go somewhere, I need to move somewhere else, literally just do it. I think sometimes when you overthink things, you psych yourself out of some really amazing things. So if you've ever wanted to do that, or if there's a city that you think you can move to, or like you've always been curious about, or like you just feel it, like, oh, I should do it, or like you just want to go for it, just do it. I promise you, anybody that has always moved to a different city in their 20s by themselves has never regretted it. Okay? If you really want to like be that alter ego, really ask yourself, like, where does that higher self, that best version of myself live? And then go there. And do your research on when you want to go. But again, follow your gut, follow your instinct. You will know where you need to go. Next is get used to failing and not being scared of it. So like I stated, like my grandpa, he kind of like shamed me for trying to open so many different businesses or trying to do so many different things. But don't be scared of failing. I wasn't scared of failing. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. And if I fail, at least I know I tried. But go into it giving it like your all. And I feel like once you know it's your thing, when you know that it's like the thing that you want to do, you will instinctively give it your all. So literally just get used to failing and not be scared of it. And I always like to remember, I don't know the exact number, but Kim Kardashian opened like 10 different businesses before she opened Skims. So, and there's a few of those examples, like different successful business owners, like they have tried to do so many other things before. And the beauty of it is like you learn by failing. So that's actually something that I learned very little, that my mom used to tell me when we were playing like video games and stuff. She would be like, oh, the only way that you get to the last level, or like the winning level, is by dying. Like, I don't know how many times. Like the first level, you literally will keep dying and dying and dying and dying until you learn what you need to do to pass it. And then same thing with every other level after that. You will keep failing and failing and failing until you figure out how to do it. And then boom, you go to the next level. It's like, just keep trying. Even if you fail, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying as many times as you want to try. You will get there. You will figure it out. Brace it, because that's how you learn, by failing. Next thing is don't be embarrassed. So I used to be really embarrassed, again, of what people thought of me, because everything I was trying to do, I was embarrassed to put myself out there. So I was embarrassed to be confident. I was embarrassed to be outgoing. I was embarrassed to be social. All those things that I had like pushed down, I was embarrassed to bring them up. But just do it. And you tell yourself like, oh, and what? Like, what is going to happen? What's the worst that can happen? Like, honestly, probably nothing is going to happen and you're overthinking it. But just don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed to fail. Don't be embarrassed to be yourself. Don't be embarrassed to put yourself out there. Don't be embarrassed to speak up, to speak your mind, to defend yourself, to ask for what you want. Whether that's like a job, a relationship, a friendship, ask for what you want. Speak up for yourself. Defend yourself. Don't be embarrassed to do that. Literally just be your best advocate. because you are the best thing that you have. You are literally the most amazing thing that you have. So advocate for that. Defend yourself, speak up for yourself, be your best salesperson. Literally, just don't be embarrassed to put yourself out there and to be confident and be outgoing and talk yourself up. Like, literally be so confident in what you want and what you have to do and what you want to achieve that you put yourself out there and you don't care what anybody thinks. And this also really happened to me when I was trying to like advertise sales. Like, oh, I don't want people to think that I'm like selling to them, but that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to sell something. So I don't care how salesy, how corny you sound, how annoying you think you're being. Go be annoying, go be salesy, just don't be scared to embarrass yourself. Right audience will be targeted, and if that didn't convince them, you're not the right audience. Next thing is protect your peace at all costs. So whether that's like friendships, relationships, work environments, anything, just protect your peace. Anything that's bothering you, anything that makes you anxious. Obviously, that's not going to be realistic for everything. Like, we can't remove every single thing of our lives that makes us anxious. But if it's within your control, if it's like a bad relationship or like a bad environment and you have the control to remove it, or like a bad friendship, if you have the power to remove it, then do it. Because you're never going to get to where you need to be if you have people that try to bring you down and lower your vibration and just are not beneficial to where you want to be. So protect your peace. And once you feel peace for the first time, it's going to be a feeling that you don't want anybody to ever take away. So it's just going to be stillness. It's just going to be tranquility, no chaos. And you are going to want to defend that. You are going to want to protect that. So if it's within your means and within your power, remove anything that doesn't bring you peace. Next thing is, don't believe in social media, because one thing that I did when I was trying to level up per se, I would constantly compare myself to other people on social media. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm doing so horrible. Oh my God, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But I'm like, girl, like, you're posting things and you're going through it. Like, you're posting that you're out and about and you're posting that you're at this restaurant, etc., and you're literally going through it. So I gave myself that reality check. What, you never know what anybody is going through. I don't care if somebody posts that they're in first class with a private chef going to Italy. You never know what that person is going through. And of course, it doesn't go for everybody. Some people really are amazing and they're doing amazing, and that's okay to also believe that. But just don't compare yourself negatively. Just be like, oh my God, this person is doing this, and this person is here, and this person has this, and I don't. Okay, so what? You have a lot of things that other people don't have. You are doing a lot of things that people wish they could do. Like, you know, you've done a lot of things that other people wish they could do. Like, you really have to be grateful for what you have. And there's this saying that I've heard over and over again, that if everybody threw their problems into a pile, you would like pick yours back up. When you're going through a hard time mentally and emotionally, it can be so hard to focus on the positive things. And you really have to remind yourself things like, you know what? It's bad right now, but I have a roof over my head. I have water, like clean water that I can drink. I have good food that I can eat. Like, I have nutritious food that I can eat. I have food, period, that I can eat. I have every single body part. I can see, I can talk, I can hear. Like, you really have to remind yourself of those things when you like are being negative and when you're in a bad space, because it's like, you know what? There are people that have less than me that are doing more than me. Yourself, like, I have everything right now that I need to be okay, and I need to be grateful for that. So no matter where you are, just be grateful for where you are, even if it's not where you want to be. For me, it was really difficult to balance, like, oh, I don't know how to be grateful because this is not where I want to be. But it's just, you know what? I'm thankful for this. I know I deserve more, and I know that I want more, and that's okay, but I'm so grateful for this. That feeling of gratitude fuels you so much, and it's such a positive, like, it's such a good mindset tip to really just see the positive in everything and know that no bad moment lasts forever. Whatever bad moment you're going through, again, financially, mentally, spiritually, romantically, any bad moment you're going through, it doesn't last forever. Next thing, maybe a little bit subjective, but I fully believe in this. Hit the gym. Go to the gym. Go work out. If you are trying to be your best self and you're not in the best shape that you want to be, or you're not your best fit, like physically, like, you know, like whatever your ideal self looks like, if they are healthy, if they are fit, you have to start working towards that. And this is the only thing probably that you can't be delusional about. I would say that you can't be delusional about your fitness level and everything. So you really have to make sure, like, you really have to go to the gym and move your body. And not only is it good, of course, for your health, but it's really good for your mental health. And it's a really good meditative, like, activity. Because when I'm working out, like, I'm able to process my thoughts and I'm able to just center in on myself and in what I'm feeling. If you do that every day and if you make that a habit, I promise some type of success is going to come from it. Especially if you're a woman, this sucks, but it's the truth. Your looks matter. Pretty privilege is a real thing. So, of course, there are some women that are heavier set. I was heavier set. They're beautiful and they're confident and they look good like that, you know? But I didn't look good like that. I didn't. That wasn't how I looked my best. So I was like, I need to get it together. When I got to that point where I was like, okay, I look good now. Like, I started carrying myself like that. And confidence is 50% of it. Like, I truly believe confidence is 50% of it. But if you're not okay with how you look and you want to look better, there's nothing wrong with that. And, you know, you can be confident and you can love yourself and you can work to love yourself all day long. But if you deep down know that you can be better, like, fitness wise, there's nothing wrong with trying to achieve that, and nobody should shame you for that. Being healthy is a good thing. I saw this post that was like, I don't know when it became so okay to eat bad, like to eat junk food, that eating healthy is considered a diet. When you think about it, like, we should all be eating healthy. And one thing I will tell you, like, about spirituality and good mental health, your food really does impact your mental health. Like, there are so many nutrients that we miss out on when we eat junk food that are just overall good for our health. So it starts with being your best self, like, physically, and that makes you your best self mentally too. And as I've said before, you cannot work on your physical health without working on your mental health first, because it takes a lot of good mental health, but it also helps keep it in check. So just overall, whatever physical activity you are doing, make sure that you are doing something every day. Just move your body. That really does help you, like, feel good about yourself, and you need that if you want to drastically change your life. Next thing, again, it could be a little bit controversial, but only go to nice places. If you want, like, a luxury lifestyle and you want, like, to make X amount of money and you want to be around all these nice luxurious things, take yourself around those nice luxurious things. So don't go to the cheap gym. This doesn't have to apply to everybody. And of course, it has to be within your means. Don't go to the cheapest restaurant. Don't eat cheap food. If you want to live a quality life and you want to really level up your life, like, give yourself those nice experiences. So go to a nice gym. Go to a shopping center in a rich area. Go to a gym in a rich area. Like, those things, like, help you, like, make that mindset shift, because you see other people that are already doing what you want to do. Does that make sense? You'll see nicer cars, you'll see nicer houses, you'll see nicer clothes, shoes, etc. Like, you'll see nicer things, and it'll condition you to be okay being around those things. So always go to the nice restaurant, always go to the nice gym, always go to the expensive coffee place. Like, you know, just do those things. Take yourself around luxury, abundant things. I used to actually go walking on Flagler Drive, that road in West Palm Beach, where all those huge, beautiful houses are. And I literally used to go walk there and just go for a walk. Just get used to being around nice things, and you'll expect nice things. Okay, last two things is act as if you already have everything you want, and remove anything that takes you further from what you want. The car that I used to have before, I cannot tell you how many times I used to get in it and just imagine that I was in a Mercedes. Like, I literally just to be like, you know what, this is a Mercedes. I am in a Mercedes. Like, I used to fully just be delusional. Act like you already have everything that you want, because that feeling is what helps attract it. What would you feel like if you had your dream car? What would you feel like if you had your own space? What would you feel like if you had X amount of money in your bank account? Would you feel safe? Would you feel relaxed? Would you feel at peace? Would you feel just nice and happy? Tap into that feeling, and that's what's going to help you manifest it and bring it in. I had a specific song. It was one of the songs from Euphoria. That one of the times that I was driving one of the Mercedes EQs, one of their electric vehicles, I would play this specific song from Euphoria and I would just tap into the feeling of it, the sound, the steering wheel, the lights in the car, the feeling of being in the car. And I used that song to replicate that feeling in my then car all the time. Imagine the Mercedes steering wheel, the lights, the ambiance, how it feels to drive it. When you have something you can tap into that feeling, it's gonna bring that closer to you. I don't know how it works cosmically, but I used to do that all the time, and it really helped me get there. And then part 2 of that is remove anything that takes you further from your goals. And that again goes for people, relationships, environments, friendships, just anything that takes you further from your goals. If you are with somebody that doesn't have the same vision for the future as you and doesn't have the same aspirations as you, and that may even be jealous if you get certain things, take yourself away from those, from those people and from those places. Just remove anything. Whenever something new comes into your life, whatever that may be, really ask yourself, first of all, what would your higher self do? What would that person do, And then ask yourself, is this going to take me further? Is this going to take me closer to my goal or further from it? Believe in God. Like I believe in God. I ask myself all the time, is this taking me closer to God and to my purpose and to what I want to do? Or is this taking me further from it? And that will really help you make decisions when you feel confused, when you feel hurt, when you feel like you don't know what to do. Ask yourself that and it'll help you get there. Okay, that is it for today's episode. I really hope that you guys take something from this and use it to build that dream life of yours. If you do these things for 6 months or more, I promise you, your life will drastically change. You just have to be consistent. You have to really want it, and you have to go like full force focus and hone in on what you want and what you want to achieve, and do all of these things, and I promise you will get there. It's not the first time that I do it. Like, this is the second time that I do this technically, and it works. So I promise you it works. I really hope that you guys can take something from this and use it in your everyday life and help you to manifest that dream life of yours. And as always, thank you guys so much for listening and watching this time. Of course, I leave you with our slogan, which you cannot feel victory if there is no battle to be won. So you have to go through it a little bit in order to feel that sense of victory. Keep that with you. I hope that you gained something from this episode, and I hope that it motivates you a little bit. Re-listen to this as many times to remind yourself that it can always get better. I really hope for every single one of you listening that whatever is on your heart and whatever you want, I pray and I hope that you get it. And I know that you will, especially if you follow these steps. Again, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you on the next one.